Alright, back to my zero viewer live stream that I'm so proud of in my life. Alright, last time I was studying classical elements. I thought this book is gonna teach me about all types of chemistry. Instead, it's gonna teach me one by one on history and how we went from this to this. In reality, I have no idea what chemistry is, but I have always strived to learn chemistry because chemistry is very important for life. As such, the intro started with this magic box of chemical elements. Now, chemical elements are varieties of atoms, according to my notes. Source, trust me. Then there was a periodic table which I did not memorize, but I know copper, silver, and gold now a little bit more since the start of my birth. Then we went over the first stage, which was by Plato. Source, trust me. Earth, fire, water, and air were the elements, apparently, known as terra, aqua, air, ignis. And chemical transformation accounts for transition of states. This was how they drew it. Drew what they call the four elements of all of Earth back in the day. Protohyle was a new idea given by Anaximander. Aprian means the unlimited. Matter is the concept of. Can I recall what this guy was telling us about? I probably can. But hey, I made notes so I don't forget. So they discovered water was an element by the idea that if you pour water in a herb under soil for 5 years, it becomes wow. As for air, they put air in a in a something like a pot or something underwater, and the water was resistant. The air had to go somewhere. Then fire was obvious because it produced heat and light, and earth is just earth. And Hang Dynasty proposed a mind blowing theory that is not just earth, fire, water, and air. It's more than that. There are four seasons, and all of heaven are intelligent. I was like, what? Then we went on to the search of atoms because we all love atoms. And in discovering atoms, we found Plato's three dimensional object theory of Plyhedra that can be made from regular polygons. He basically divided every element into polygons and thought, why not we just use mathematics? They used to think atom cannot be split, but now in the present time we know that. And Aristotle also believed in a fifth element called ether, the heavenly element that links all four together, but in reality it was just a carbon-based substance in the 19th century, which was disproven by Albert Einstein himself. Then the discussion about chapter 2 was copper, silver, and gold. Copper is copper, used in 3000 to 2500 BC Bronze Age. Back then, we didn't have technology, so it was mostly used as useful metal for currency, weapons, and other living items. They all occupy the same group in the periodic table, and their atoms share an arrangement of electrons that makes them especially stable and slow to react with those in moisture and air, which protects them from corrosion. Silver and lead were melted together as an alloy from galena and were separated in a process called cupellation. It is the process, but this process is about gold. And now, today, in and after the long awaited flashback, yes, let me open my book. So, tin and lead are in group 4, post transition metals. Tin is Sn and lead is solid. Both are actually solid. Lead is Pv. Let me find them in group 4 then. Okay, now where is group 14? They should be in metal. Why am I searching in the after? Oh, the oh yeah, here. Everyone's beloved pin and lead, the most high quality image I've ever seen in my life. What is this? What is this? Who can even see this language, bro? Anyways, these two are the topics. Let's learn. Bronze Age was associated with copper, but it was with tin too, since bronze is an alloy of those two metals. So bronze is an alloy of tin and copper. Wow. I can just write this. Why am I drawing it? Life changing art, bro. Alright, then let me continue. These two molten metals combine in the furnace. The ores were deliberately, carefully weighted to the desired kind of bronze alloy. Okay, so tin is extracted from an ore called cassiterite. Let me find a picture. We all want to see cassiterite. Oh my god, cassiterite looks kinda cool. What is this? Right. It's named after the word cassitors for metal itself. The Romans called it stantum, from which tin takes its chemical symbol Sn. This became the French tin and the German Zinn, from both of which is short step in modern English, which is a reddish brown form of tin oxide. I can't lie, it's kind of reddish brown, but it's mostly white though. Wow, my one viewer, my bestie XG showed up. Up. What is okay? Tin smelting was happening in Europe, at least by 1500. There were tin mines throughout Europe, those southwest of England were active 1150 that British eyes might have been the Tin Island. Tin is relatively soft, silvery metal that can be hammered into sheets. The thinnest of these was tin leaf or tin foil, which was used to cover objects, giving them the bright appearance of silver or when glazed with translucent yellow pigment as a cheap imitation of. Today, tin foil is made from aluminum instead. The tin's resistance to tarnishing also made it popular metal. As we saw earlier, lead was a history bound up with silver, just as tin does with copper. The main ore of lead, ga- galena, has been mined for metal for several millennia. The main ore of it on a wood or a coal fire. The practice has been taken 7,000. Oh yeah, my timer. I need a timer. Lead has arguably the most unjustly gloomy reputation of all the classical to represent all that is ponderous, sluggish, and dirty. Why? What's wrong with lead? It is both poisonous and too soft. It is the lowest metal in the alchemical pantheon. By corroding lead with vinegar fume, the Egyptians made white pigment lead acetate called lead white, which remained the painter's finest white right up to its replacement with zinc white. In the 19th century, by heating in the air, ancient artisans could make a rich or, or orangish red that the Romans called minimum red lead, from which the word miniature, a painting often finely detailed, that makes abundant use of red lead. So it was used for art, I guess, making white color, a mixture of other colors. Its abundance also helped in making water pipes. Lead sheet was also handy by the waterproof sealant, being widely used for church roof elements. It has a deadly reputation. Really? Lead mining was deeply hazardous. The miners were mostly slaves back then, some of them children, and worked chained and naked. What the hell? What? No, we don't need these fun facts. There is a pollution from mining activity. The engineer Marcus Vitruvius in the first century BC said the lead smelters were often pale and worn. By boiling grape juice or old wine in the lead And some of the bones who lived in Roman had lead levels more than 70 times higher than those Iron Age. Britain, their lead tools weren't good. They had poison, and problems caused by lead poisoning might have contributed to the decline of the Roman Empire. What a little fun fact. I need a picture of lead. Bruh. What are these pictures? Okay, found one. So this is the lead, famous lead. Next time I go mining, I will be sure to avoid this poisonous rock. Yes, mining in the jungles. Trust me. Next up, we have everyone's favorite ore, iron. Where is iron in the periodic table? Probably next to iron, iron. Oh, silicon. That is not iron. But where is bro? Where is iron? Is it in this language? Oh, these are mostly gases and other stuff. No, wait, no, iron. Fe. Yeah. I knew iron. Right, we have iron now. What do we learn about iron? Transition metal is purplish pink color. Atomic number 26. Atomic weight 55 and solid. Melting of iron had the most transformational effect on the world. This began to have happened in the Hittite Empire of 8th century. Tough iron weapons of the almost impossible to design for brittle bronze. It was present in meteorites. Although the temperature needed to smelt iron around 2795 Fahrenheit would have made the metal a little practical to stumble upon. A bounty. Oh, that's a really high temperature. 1705 Fahrenheit, that in Celsius. My goodness gracious. 1500 Celsius. Oh, where would I get that much temperature? Drink some. but it was a no match for steel. Okay, we're back to steel now. They made steel from cementation, which means hammering hot iron with charcoal to get carbon into it. It was hardened further by quenching, plunging, plunging the forged metal into cold water. These techniques weren't perfect until the first millennia when the Iron Age took off. Thing. Whoa, what is this diagram? I'm dying to share it. Let me read first. Probably some Chinese technique. Assyrians, who in Byzantine Jerusalem in 701 BC came down like the wolf in the fold. The sheen of their spear was like the stars of the sea. Greek civilization was founded upon iron, while the spread of Roman power would eventually carry the civilization for the limits of Western world was associated with iron throughout its long history, such as Spain had many iron fields. Rio Tinto mines of Huelva province sit on the seam of copper zinc pyrite, iron sulfide, which is also known as a fool's gold, and the iron-rich red soil of the region gives it. Then we have the coming of steel. Melting iron ore begins by roasting pyrite, make oxide, then oxygen is removed by heating with carbon, charcoal, which combines with carbon dioxide gas. This is reaction called reduction. It turns the iron present the compound into element metallic form, which pools and can be drained from the kiln or the furnace in its molten state. Didn't make it perfectly, but it made a messy wrought iron. The temperature the smelting process was raised by blowing air into the blast furnace. Oh yeah, blowing air into the blast furnace. Melting of iron ore was 'They were blowing air to make the fire more heat. After manual labor, they use water wheels to power up the blast furnaces. It wasn't until 1722, however, French polymetherine Antoine showed that the properties of iron depends crucially on the amount of carbon it contains. Cement steel is nothing other than iron combined with a certain proportion of natural charcoal. Oh, I found a picture. This can die actually. This is what we want to see. They used some sort of tool to blow the air inside the furnaces, and then they were using the molten to at least smelting. Iron Railroad. Yep, iron made a big impact on history. Steel had replaced wrought iron throughout the construction and transport industry. The modern Iron Age was properly this now upon us. Yep, we have a very historic picture. I love history. Oh, wow, chapter 3 Alchemical Elements. I believe this chapter is gonna be very deep. If I remember correctly, it's the longest. Yes, 20 pages long. Okay, no, it's not one of the longest. But what is this, chapter 5? Chapter 5, what's wrong with you? 40 pages. The golden age. I love chemistry. Bro, now iron, you can relax. Bro, right. Chapter Between the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, when chemistry meant alchemy, it was often called chemistry. The science in transition. We were trying to figure out how the world works and how we can make use of the knowledge, hoping little by little to the ideas that came before. Science is always a work in progress. Chemistry was now directed to making medicine. Ingredients containing such as roasted snakes could be brought in any self-respecting apothecary shop. They use processes such as sophisticated Arnold, for example, prepared almost pure alcohol by distillation. Bro, what is distillation? You didn't teach me. Alright, got chat. I managed to source Google. Distillation is a chemical process used to separate or purify liquids by boiling them into vapor and then condensing the vapor back into liquid form. That is genius. I completely agree. That is genius. What is this paragraph long name? Paracelsus arguably did more than anyone in the Renaissance to turn alchemy away from a quest to make gold, although he tried that too, towards medicine. His most celebrated remedies was laudanum, which was said to have miraculous properties. Using laudanum, he can wake up the dead. No one knows what was the alleged wonder drug, but the potion with the same name was prompted by 17th century English physician Thom. It was essentially opium dissolved in alcohol and seasoned with spices. It didn't have cure to anything, but it would have eased patients' aches and pains. Medicine remained a strong theme in chemistry. He believed that everything that happens in the world can be given to chemistry. The distillation of rain, the rational process. Study the terms of the Big Bang that physics can explain and investigate in particle acceleration. There's no denying that it was rather a beautiful idea for a brief. Alright, after history, we're now into elements again. The first element we're going to be discussing sulfur in group 6, the non-metal. Rather in hills, places around volcanoes, sulfur, crater lakes, and that sulfur is mostly dissolved. When molten sulfur crushed with bright yellow crystals of this and stinking of the pungent gas sulfur dioxide formed by combination. Sulfur has been volcano region. Sulfur dioxide was means of driving away vermin such as mice, cockroaches, and powdered sulfur would sometimes be in food stored to keep pests at bay. Used it in medicine for itch. Sulfur is inflammable. By all accounts, it was almost impossible to extinguish even while floating in water. Then we have a mind-blowing depiction. Later, sulfur became the ingredient in gunpowder. Fire arrows and bombs flung at the enemy in siege and naval battles. Gunpowder combines sulfur with charcoal and compound known as saltpeter. The saltpeter supplies the oxygen that lets the sulfur and charcoal burn with such sudden fury. Why am I getting gunpowder making tutorial? I'm gonna make it at home. Stretch of Brimstone, the most influential texts of early alchemy, were written around the late 3rd century by Zosimos. Sulfur water was reaction. Sulfur water itself was made by heating sulfur, lime, calcium carbonate, and dissolving the stuff that was seems to have been the solution of the gas. Hydrogen smells like rotten egg. To visualize this, sulfur is the reason for bad smells. Life changing fun fact. Better than the previous fun facts. Next, we have phosphor. Wow, sulfur was kinda interesting. Seems like this is growing left to right. We have infinite. Insert emoji. How do I insert? Phosphorus has drama, intrigue, hardship, excitement, and danger, and bad smell. Of course, life change. Henin Bandit was a glassmaker, philosopher, philosopher's stone that they can turn rock into gold. His lab was financed by the dowry of his first wife. After she died, by the resources of a wealthy widow he married subsequently. What are these fun facts? What? What are these fun facts I have to hear? What type of fun facts are these? Bro was always on the lookout for turning profit in alchemy research. He really wanted the philosopher's stone. His theory was it was distilled from urine. What the hell? What are these fun facts? He found after distilling and extracting from urine, he found indeed. What? What is happening? Is this the guy the fun facts we're talking about? Okay, well, now what is this gadget I'm seeing? which, when heated to produce garlic smelting liquid that glows moonlight and bursts in contact with hunting. He succeeds in distilling urine himself. Phosphorus, the bearer of light, was a glowing substance. Bro, why do I search on Microsoft Edge? It gives no images. Black phosphorus, the best image I can get of phosphorus. Phosphorus is odd stuff. It exists in several pure forms, red, white, and black. White phosphorus is the most common and is soft and waxy, melting at 111 Fahrenheit. It glows close to oxygen due to chemical reactions between two elements that causes phenomena to emulate. It can cause serious burns if it comes in contact with the skin, and it is also highly toxic. And yet again, we see a paradox of chemistry. Phosphorus is an essential element in living systems. Combined with oxygen in the form of phosphate, mixes a fabric of bone and the links the backbone of DNA molecule, the bearer of genes in all organisms. It is because there is so much phosphorus in our body that there's so plenty in urine, in which any excess is one of the most marvelous, perplexing of all. I should guys can read. You're watching me and my zero viewers having the most life changing stream. Antimony. I've never heard of this material. What is this new material? Why is there two? And more. Many elements were first named only in the form of compounds. This in nature is mineral form as its sulfide. Stibnite, SB. Stibnite is a soft and black. Was used in powdered form mixed with waxes or oils as a cosmetic by the Egyptian. Eye paint, the root of Arabic black eye cosmetics such as mascara are sometimes called Stibnite ointment was eye infection. Oh, so it was used to make mascara thing. Search for his old form. I wanna see it. So is it me or this old looks kinda cool? Old looks thick, bro. Like super duper. Can't lie. I need this ore in my life. What am I gonna do with it? I don't know. Make mascara and sell it for $1. Hmm. Stibnite dissolved in vinegar and distilled, and John of Burgess claimed that it formed as blood red drops, passes the sweetness of honey. Wow, there's a pair of dots for chemistry for distillation. So in the past they used this tool for distillation. What is this design left by this picture? What is this designs? What is this? Yeah, I can clean it with this picture. Magical designs. No, iotrochemistry means medical chemistry. Antimony itself was fairly toxic. Atom force. Right, so basically about the Paracelians arguing that they can remove the bad toxics from anatomy and antimony and they can use it for medicine, while the rivals, traditionalists, were vying for influence. That's why they argued against it. How did they separate it from the ore? Simply heating the sulfide in the air will drive off the sulfur. The pure element looks grayish metal. People use small pellets of pure antimony to cure constipation in the Middle Ages. Right, so the medicine. Next there is Pologist, Phlogiston, who? When Berzelius stated that sulfur was the principle of combustion, he established the idea that everything that burns does so because of an ingredient it contains. Whether that was sulfur or mercury, constitution of all matters were the word phlogiston is from the Greek word to set on fire. So this chapter is literally means set on fire. There are three types of earth: fluid like mercury, a solid like salt, and a fatty and combustion like sulfur. The ash that remains is a mere fraction of the original metal. Sulfur itself, said Stahel, is a mixture of veltriol, what we call sulfuric acid, with phlogiston. A burning question. Oh my god, burning inside the burns. Why a lighted candle would even go out when a bell jar. Conversely, if air could be robbed of some of its phlogiston better by its combustion. One Joseph Preston production gas by heating mercury oxide founded desperately that maybe sometimes halogens could have negative weight. It wasn't until 1780 it was disproven that it was not released by some element halogestion but by absorbing or combining with an element in the air, which he called oxygen. Metals gain weight when they burn because they combine to form the oxide. Mm. Metals would lose weight, they gained weight because of oxygen. Next thing is what exactly is an element? What exactly is an element? We don't know. Oh, so what exactly is an element? Page 72. Bruh, how long is this? Never mind, it's like 2 pages long. I think I can read this. Was about to give up. What is this? Where does this come from? Who is this? A great deal of alchemy was practical craft of using chemistry to substances such as pigments, dyes, soap, and medicine. Believe me, he wrote, when I declare that I distinguish Betwixt those chemists that are either cheat or but laborants and the true adepti, meaning knowledgeable scholars like himself. At a point, there were plenty of dubious claims practices, but in the end, that was not so different from what alchemists had always said in the you lot are ignorant, puffers, and charlatans, while I have true knowledge. Basically, all chemists were forced, trust me, I am pro alchemy. Substance, a substance that cannot be broken down by chemical reaction into anything simpler is an element. Red for dramatic. Why is everything red? And everything must be red. Now, that's pretty much. Then is this one art of this just uh, robotic creature brewing a potion. Next, we have chapter. Who is this block of what? The new metals. But might have to stop studying for because I need to study geopolitics. Yo, I had a second viewer. I'm shocked. Not gonna lie, you made it quite far already. Yeah, I'm studying new metals now, but I'm still a beginner in chemistry. Hopefully, gonna get further tomorrow. Wonder what I'm metals. Probably about more metals. Now I'm gonna take a break and study geopolitics and make a video with it.